Thank you, Clay. Thank you. Hey. Namaste. Namaste. Clay. Oh, Clay just, Javon's not around today. He's out of town on business, but Clay is a wonderful guy, very talented here. Okay, so, oh, there's so much going on. Yeah, I am Psychic Frank's Mystery School. I'm Psychic Frank. There's Saturn. What is it? Saturn and Neptune. There's Neptune. The yeah, Clay had a different background for me, which I liked, and I said, "We'll use that another time." I wanted it to talk about the Saturn Neptune conjunction because on the 18th of this month, uh, because today is the 6th of March, and let me just get some of my things in order here for 1 second. Uh, okay, so 2026, it's a one univ. Oh, yeah, so I'm Psychic Frank. This is the Mystery School. I am your host. And what am I wearing today? I'm wearing birds. I went with this. The weather's been changing. It's been summer like, but they say it's going to cool down lately. And you never know how to dress in San Francisco to be as comfortable as possible, which I think is the whole name of the game. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So yeah, I'm here twice a month. Let's have commons. God bless us. Democracy rules. Um, okay, so a universal 1 year for the whole planet uh, marks the beginning of a new era, a new 9 year cycle of events. The universe calls for strong leadership in both uh, it's just courageous and decisive leadership. We got to start realizing now that we got to go anti-establishment all the way, all the way. I mean, we got to get rid of Gavin Newsom and that Wiener character. Yeah, we're going to talk more about that because I have their charts right here. I don't have Scott Wiener's chart, but I definitely have our mayor's chart because I want to actually talk to this guy. I even though I think respect has to be earned, and when you're deceived, I realize like I always tell people, and I remind myself a lot. Oh, here's what's going on today with the planets. When someone shoots an arrow into your heart, instead of quote unquote getting back, um, you have to deal with the arrow in your heart. Keep in mind that. And I was so angry, as I said, November. It was a bittersweet birthday. I turned 20. I set is 27. I turned 77, and um, and a dear friend of over 40 something years passed. It was her time. Um, Passed on, and I realized in December, it's fighting for my neighborhood in Hayes Valley, that the Entertainment Commission, uh, we have no, in a nutshell, we have no civil rights here. Our civil rights are pow, finished, gone. Yeah, I have a copy of them now, but yeah, we got to start realizing now that this whole thing with Gavin Newsom, he's a nuisance, all right. But if we didn't have him, we'd have to invent him. Um, for decades, he allowed London Breed and before her, Ed Lee, to literally just destroy our civil rights and never said peep, not a peep out of them. And now this Mango Mussolini, this horrible person we have as the president, calling himself the president of the United States, the divided states. He's the president of the divided states. Uh, 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 Threatened to put him, his lily white ass in prison. Uh, this Gavin Newsom came out. I mean, maybe his something dropped. You know, maybe his testicles. Who knows what happened? But he, I keep, yeah, I was amazed. I liked the fact that he's standing up to this guy, and but then also simultaneously, I was thinking, where in the hell was this Gavin Newsom all these years, especially during the reign of horrible London Breed? Just totally destroying, just gutting all these key departments that made the residents living in this city, comfortable and safe. Uh, with her anti-cannabis harm reduction. And she was just she's a very sick woman. She's a sick lady, as my stepmother used to say. When I used to say something about a neighbor, she'd say, "Frank, she's a sick lady." Yeah, so I'm not going to say anything bad about London Breed. She's a sick woman. Notice I didn't say lady. You know. So what's going on now is okay. So I'm watching the news, and I was telling our Mayor Lauri I have to have just happen to have his birth chart right here because he's in a wisdom year, and I brought my a piece of ephemeris for because I want him to understand now what's going on for him personally now is this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune here over my head. The blue one is Neptune, the one with the circle around it is Saturn. You know, if you turn it that way, the circle it represents this, everything. It's altogether different if you turn the. We're used to seeing it this way, but if you got a different view of it, it's a it's another view of Saturn that you it enlightened you to what's going on, at least if you use your intuition and your imagination, because that's what it's for. Okay, so as I said today, the 6th of for Daniel, for Mr. Lauri here. Okay, I was looking for where all the planets are right now. Here we are. Okay, so the planet Saturn is right directly on our mayor's Venus. He keeps on slipping away here. Okay, so and this is it's and then so that happens every 29 years. So Saturn will be going back and forth over his Venus. Take these paper clips off of here and see what we got here. Here we have okay, March. Yeah, so Saturn is, as I said, today 2 degrees, 20 minutes. Neptune's one, of course, it moves a lot slower. Uh, um, 1 degree, 14. And then, so it won't be until April. April is when Neptune will be right around the 11th of April, this April, Saturday the 11th, April, Neptune. And then Neptune, as I said, will go back and forth. Here we have, we're not going to go through all the dates, but here we have November, October. Uh, Neptune will be once again 2 degrees. Uh, Retrograde to it goes 3 degrees and then retrogrades back to 2, 1. Yeah, so you get Neptune back and forth over your Venus. So I said it's totally, you got to be the lead dog here. I was watching the news this morning, and there's Kristie Neom giving her farewell speech, the Secretary of Defense. I can't believe that. She killed the puppy, equivalent to it wasn't a puppy. It was the equivalent to like a 16-year-old, and it wouldn't stop crying, so she shot it. This is the kind of ruthless person, the Mango Mussolini. Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. But enough about her. But she did mention that she had several conversations with our Mayor Lauri. I've been saying now, we got to get the healing community back together. Mayor Lauri, I know you're going to understand this, one of these days, one of these lifetimes. But I don't care about that. I care about what's going on right now, because I'm not the only gifted healer. I'm a very good one at that. But as I said, there's so many alternative healings now, but the medical, before I left the house today, I had like, I was a little early, and Gabby was already tucked into her cage, and I didn't want to just, so I sat at my computer, and then I realized that, let me type in something, and I typed in about the Hippocratic Oath that doctors used to take, and it's been modified. It doesn't exist now. It says, I wrote down, where did I put it? I wrote down my notes about that, but the whole thing about do no harm is what doctors can do harm now. It's as simple as that. So more and more, don't question your doctors. Doctors hate it. Doctors will, they hate, but they had a survey, an exhaustive survey, a survey of people who actually heal. These are their doctors' worst nightmares. They're constantly asking questions. They're constantly badgering them with, because their life is on the line. The ones that sheepishly say, "Oh, okay, well, my doctor said this and this and this," or they try to convince me that, oh no, I got a sneeze coming on. Okay. That, oh, Frank, no, this drug has no side effects. Come on, the only drug that has, the only herb, there's an herb that with hardly any side effects, and that's called cannabis. But see, they don't want you to know how brilliant you are. Yeah. So I'm doing what John Lewis wanted me to do. Get in the way. I'm getting in the way of keeping that horrible, horrible Scott Wiener, man. He's such a slimy leech. He's just a horrible, just the liquor industry is no, it's over. It's over for them. The liquor industries know it's over for them. They were a bug up the ass of the cannabis, getting reformed with cannabis, and are still, are still anti, they bought our mayor. That's why you think our mayor Lauri, you think these 12 people that gave him $100,000 aren't connected to the Trumps and Lori there, what's her name? Um, Gnome. It sounds like Kristie Gnome. It sounds like those little wood creatures in fairy tales, the gnomes, the little family of gnomes, and no, she's a horrible. She kills puppies. She's a cruel. She's like a perfect match for Stephen Miller. The two of them were definitely reincarnated Nazis, or yeah, terrible. Our First Amendment to the United States Constitution protects us from freedom of speech. We don't have that anymore. You think I'm lying? Go to City Hall when they have the open mic thing, and you get a few minutes and mention London Breed. They'll cut off your mic and you'll be escorted out. I am unofficially persona non grata because I will not let this go. Because today when I heard that, and his London Breed's what's his name? He's really London Breed on steroids, because he's got more money than she'll ever dream of having, and because he and his brothers, who knows. See, it says, so as I said, and his people, there was one conversation in October. No, I don't think Kristie Neom would have said that. No, she was on her way out. She's the type that's going to take. She's taking everybody with her. So, I'm telling you, while it's all right now. It says it's this is what this says in my. I was looking up about the transit that's going. It's going to be going on. Not only Saturn on your Venus, but also and Saturn is not as polite as Neptune. There, Saturn will lay you up. Um, not wishing you any harm, but Saturn every 29 years is where it is now for you. And it's going to be going back and forth over this most of this year and next year with Neptune still on your Venus up until spring of next year. So like for a whole year now, Neptune and Saturn will be on your Venus, and on the 18th we have a whole lineup of planets all in Aries. Um, and we're going to talk about that. But for you now, as I said, we got to. As I said, the truth has got to be. I've been since the '60s, since Richard Nixon. I knew I wasn't a healer. I wasn't aware of my healing. I was a conduit for divine healing back then to help, heal people. But I was totally aware that cannabis was good medicine. And Dan Harvey Milk said. It was a civil rights movement. I live right in Hayes Valley, and a lot of times I'll take a different route to go to the library, and a lot of times I'll walk by Grove Street, and it goes by the side of City Hall, and then I'll walk over to the library from there. And every time what is that, like, been 30 years? It's been since the 70s there. And I pass by that window where Dan White, you know, he obviously from the out went around and from the inside and unlatched it, and then went on the outside and lifted it up and crawled in with because he couldn't bring a gun into the city hall. But so that's how he got a gun in and shot Moscone and Harvey Milk. But in '78, Harvey Milk, Supervisor Harvey Milk, who was the first openly gay man elected to public office in the country, helped pass a proposition that encouraged local law enforcement to stop arresting and prosecuting people for growing, distributing, and possessing marijuana. Harvey said cannabis was a civil rights issue. And then I wrote, Angela Davis said, I'm no longer accepting what I cannot change. I'm changing the things I cannot accept. And as I said, thanks to Richard Nixon, and then, the final, it took around a year or so, but he finally got the results of what he said from the best medical minds in the country. And they all said cannabis is best medicine. And as I said, now it's been proven alcohol is none. The whole world organization is saying now that cannabis as alcohol is of course, the least harmful. Uh, I don't think I've been using it since I was 13, and I'm as healthy as fit as a fiddle. So I think being a vegan vegetarian helps. But yeah, it says you are more powerful than you know, and they fear the day you discover it. Oh yeah, as I said back when we were begging, we were working on getting 2015 passed, 215 past the cannabis, but what makes it available now that you can go into any dispensary, you don't have to risk your life going through Dolores Park in the middle of the night to score a nickel bag of weed or whatever. Uh, 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 it's worth repeating. I was with Access of Love then, and I got the memo. Beat it. One of the guys who's running for governor of was there along with several other good supervisors who were pro cannabis, and it was at the high school right across the street from Dolores Park there on 16th Street. His last name is Antonio Vera or something. It's like alphabet soup. And forgive me, I'm not being rude. I just can't remember. My Venus in Libra is so lazy. But I wanted to write it down, but the ad was too fast. Him and Tom Sire there. Spire. Yeah, I want those guys to be Tom Sawyer. No, he's the one. We got to get anti-establishment people in there. And all of a sudden, there's like a fleet of buses. I'm not exaggerating. It's 6 or 7 buses, yellow school buses, uh, and all these Asian people getting out of them. And I said to some people who I was with, without access of love, we were protesting, making ourselves visible. I said, "What's all this about?" And they said, "Oh, it's Scott Wiener. He went up to, he's against cannabis." And this was like all liquor industry money. I know that. I can't prove it, but I knew, I know now. He's so heavily into the liquor industry. And as I said, now I was on a bus the other day. This kid's drinking a can of beer right across from me, and right behind the driver. So yeah, you could drink now, open can of beer any way you want now. Oh, don't light up a joint. Oh God, no, no, no. Especially, God forbid, near a playground. But your kids can see drunks appearing on the walls. Alcoholics drinking beer all over. It's like, God. We got it. It's. I thought, like, it's just one or two, but no, there's generations now who have toddlers now are being taught cannabis will ruin your brain cells. No, it's the other way around. It's the other way around. It's alcohol. Alcohol. It's we got a country ruled on drunks. So for you, Mr. Mayor, it says, your Venus says, you may suddenly discover that your friends of many years seem limited. Yeah, they're assholes. Unless you're the lead dog of the dog sled, you're going to see assholes like Gavin Newsom and Scott Wiener and all the rest of them there. All the other suck ups of these. These are all the established. Oh yeah, the Democratic Party now. You'll get something in the mail. Whatever they say, vote for these Democratic people. Don't vote for them. They're the harm. Vote for your gut. Vote for your gut. Do some research. You can't just say, well, the Democratic Party sent me something. No, the Democratic Party is bought and paid for. They're all about Gavin, man. They're all about establishment. I never wanted somebody not to be elected as much as I want. I've been 4 decades now. I've been putting up with that mother. I've been putting up with his. Well, I was sitting there, the years that we were working. I'm not going to say the word try. We were working on getting cannabis legalized, and I was doing healings then. I said that's how I got as good as I am now, by years of working on it. A lot of bodies, and I'd be sitting there with all these people like going through dialysis, all kinds of who were currently or just lost a loved one, and they were the caregiver, and they wanted people to City Hall, the supervisors and the mayor especially, to understand how cannabis made their lives of these people they loved so much easier now. And like Louise Hay was now, towards the end of her life, I don't know what they did to her. They lived to be 100, but that was the woman they dragged out on the Oprah Winfrey show. Wasn't the Louise Hay I knew. The Louise Hay I knew loved her cannabis. She would double park in the hay and run up little packages of cannabis and tapes to friends of mine who were this good guy, John G. I won't say his last name, an artist who was dying of AIDS, who lived right in the same building where my buddy lives now, who's almost 100. And we often talk about John and how Louise Hay would double park her little sports car. And so, as I said, and which well, Oprah Winfrey's anti-cannabis. It's a whole culture now that needs to be And how's it going to happen? I'm hopefully I keep on saying, well, somebody's going to do this. Somebody's going to look up these things about London Breed left the city and $1 billion. It's probably more by now. The more they're uncovering now of debt, plus all these millions. Several. Just scroll down. London Breed, how she left the city, and then scroll down about as I said. Um, Oh yeah, so what it says here about this transit, as I said, instead you may become involved with some. group that is considered by the rest of society, particularly old friends, to be offbeat, eccentric, and completely crazy. You know, a wise man can play a fool, but a fool like you can't play a wise man. You know, yeah, you hit a nerve there. I'll tell you. Yeah, I've been playing the fool for too long because I had to how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Well, it took a lot of years for me to practice. That's why these kids I see when I'm doing events and not so much anymore. There's no events to go to now. There's no psychic fairs. There's no pro cannabis. It's all alcohol, alcohol, money, 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 money. A mark, a yen, a buck, or a pound. You know, you could go on into show business. I could see you doing Joel Gray's part in Cabaret, the pimp in Cabaret. You know, I could see Mayor Lauri there doing Joel Gray's knock knock at the door. Who's there? Oh, hunger. Yeah, you know, Carl Jung said when Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson were getting together, putting together Alcoholics Anonymous, it wasn't Dr. Bill Wilson, but I think it was Dr. Bob and a couple other of his friends went to Geneva to made an appointment to see Dr. Young. And Dr. Young, they said, we've heard that you had great alcohol success in curing alcoholics and addicts, hopeless alcoholics and addicts. And he said, you heard wrong. And I guess they took him back by that. And he said, I told them I couldn't do anything for them. They needed a spiritual experience. And then they talked and they came up with the 12 steps. And accordingly, if you do these 12 steps correctly, deeply, with a certified someone with a few decades of sobriety behind them, um, you'll have a spiritual awakening. I, on the other hand, left my body. I believe I died September 19th, 1982, and came back. They told me, you know, to come back. They said, you know, you hadn't finished your mission now. Oh, I could have stayed. I could have stayed. I don't believe I was there. I was, I believe, a halfway station where I wouldn't mind staying for an eternity. It was wild. It was like, so, wow, it was, I don't want to talk about it. That was the universe said, cool it, Frank, cool it, man. You know, get on back where you're going. But as I said, as I said, I knew that it would be when most people were leaving the workforce, I'd be just entering it. That's why I'm in such good shape at the age I am now. And I'm drug free, by the way. Yes, I use cannabis, and just to make sure I don't stop universe, the universe created the situation with macrodegenerative disease and put it in my eye, but they also froze it like 30 years ago. And it baffled the eye surgeons in the dust in the city, actually in America, because they did a 2 hour computer counseling on my eyes, and the suggestion was tell them not to quit using weed. So there you go. But as I said, there's so many, all these rehab places, all these solutions. You're leaving out. You're dealing with the body. I'm talking about the mind and the soul. You guys, that's not even on the scoreboard for you guys. You just see like Laura, what was his name? Ed Lee. Get rid of them. Get rid of these people. Yeah, there was no ounce of empathy in Gavin Newsom. What is his name? Newsom. I can't even say his name anymore. He's a nuisance. Yeah, Gavin Nuisance. No disrespect, dude. You ain't done shit for me, man. As I said, and you ain't gonna do I'm doing everything I can to make sure the happiest day of my life will be where you lose the election. We get Tom Sayer there. Thank God I get he's the only one talking about anti-establishment things. He's not coming right out, and there's a few other heads coming up now, young people talking about anti-establishment now. Smell the air. There's something in the air besides the atmosphere, Mayor Lauri. And it's not your billionaire mother. Notice I didn't call her a cunt this time. But I think all billionaires, male or female, are cunts. Nobody should have $1 billion. That's and it's a definitely. I'm clearing this off now because I'm going to do some cards for you now. And as far as education goes, you got to pick up this book. It was written in the late '80s. One Mind by this guy's still alive, Dr. Larry Dossey. uh, when I thought, I'm the only one in the world with disability and all that. No, I am a healer, but anybody who, or if your son or daughter is a healer or shows, unusual talents, this will help them deal with the whole term non-locality, because that's where you go to when you're doing your healings. I'm not doing this stuff. I could barely get out of bed in the morning without the help of God. But as I said, I'm a conduit for this that keeps me humble. The minute you say the word humble, you made me say it, but you don't have it anymore. But mind beyond brain. The brain does not generate thought any more than the wire generates electric current. The brain breathes mind like the lungs breathe air. You can think yourself well, or you could worry yourself sick. Okay, let's see what we got here now. So, Mayor Lauri, in this day and age right now, I could see why you didn't want the phones, and you probably bent. You didn't have to really, you know, twist Bayvac's arm to get the phones cut off. I mean, as I said, I know Bayvac like the back of my head. I've been involved with them for a good 15 years now. So, as I said, you say jump, they say how high. And anything, I'm using their place there. So, thank you, Bayvac, for. But as I said, somebody get the phones turned on. Let's get the city. There's so many people, young people, who get flocked to the city from, just horrible right-wing families. So, believe that their life was at stake, and they come here only to find same bullshit, different state. No, this is a mecca for cannabis spirituality. You can't separate the two. The whole idea of people with a joint in one hand, a can of beer in the other, and think like, "Oh, well, I'm doing." No, no, fuck you. You're not doing well. You're supporting the enemy. You're supporting the goddamn beer, alcohol. You know, people will always have it, so let them kill themselves. Go to a hospital and see somebody in the last stages of the liver disease, or tobacco smokers now. There's this one guy I see in the pocket puffing on those cancer sticks, and then was giving me a lecture I shouldn't smoke cannabis near a playground. What? You know who you're talking to? I'm Psychic Frank. I'm a hippie healer, man. Cannabis is the. You need to quit smoking those cancer sticks now. You're supporting the cannabis, and start getting behind cannabis. Our forefathers of this country never dreamed we reached this state um, of total banning. Had George Washington is quoted as saying, grow it and grow it everywhere. He was like Johnny Appleseed there. Okay, I've cut the cards now. Sweet one mind. Okay, yes, okay, we're tuning in now. I'm picking up. I'm getting centered. Yeah, we got off to a bad start, Lori. Oh yeah, I hear parts of they try to somebody tried to kill you in the tenderloin. People don't like you because you're. I'm not going to call you the word I've been calling you, because you're ignorant. You're ignorant, and you won't admit it. You think you're listening to assholes like Scott Wiener and the moron. What's his name? Gavin Moron there. Gavin Moron Newsom's. Yeah. These are the assholes you want to separate yourself from. These are all about establishment. You want to use every cent you could get a hand on your mother's billions there, and redeem her ignorant soul and start being the son she never wanted. Oh yeah, I was looking at your chart, and my guides were telling me, Frank, you yourself that couldn't live with a Venus in Aries, but I mean, a lot of people can and do. They love uniforms. That was probably the best time in your life. Yeah, because you love the uniform, and actually, you love the uniform you get to wear now. You're a suit. This is the uniform I wear now. So, okay, I'm going to pick a few cards now and see where we are. One. Okay, that's how we're feeling about ourselves. What are we fearing? What's going on for us? What's going on against us? And yeah, you could reconvene all these brilliant minds of doctors and lawyers and people who have come back from an abyss where there was no coming back from, and cannabis was a big part of their recovery. And now you just don't get it. You just don't get it. I'm not the Lone Ranger here. There used to be at least these psychic fairs, and where people got. I was able to sit there with other healers, and put my hands on people and work with, occasionally street someone, and I would see on their arms they had just shot up, and I believe they walked away, moved. They have a You're missing it. You're missing the boat, man, for the sake of the city I love, my adopted city that I adore. Somebody shake you, wake you up, and realize these sons of bitches are not your friends. They're friends of your mother's billionaires. These cats wouldn't pee on you if you were on fire, Mayor Lauri. And then you're right there with them. You're right up their ass. You're a pathetic. You could change now. You don't have to be the pathetic mess you are right now. You're a loser. Okay, as I said, here we are now. You got to. People are had it with the medical profession now. There's no more hypocritic oath there. Yeah, they take no oath. They take an oath there to do as much harm as they want. I can't tell you how many people have fought with me, and then on their deathbed, I get a call when they realize, well, it's going to be a day now. I'll be out of here. And you were right, Frank. You were right. I don't want to be right all the time, but don't try to bullshit me. When I tell you these doctors are not on your side. And if you're doctors and nurses now, you know goddamn well you can't have. And there used to be General Hospital. It was, I don't know how it is now. I haven't been there in a decade, but there used to be out the Bates no more and over in the East Bay there. But there were several hospitals sort of friendly to healers like me going in and doing things. Now, no, they're all death mills now, and the pharmaceutical industry now. As I said, if you're watching me on cable TV now on Saturday night at 7:30, to have a little go on a field trip and shut off your cable and go into antenna TV just for an hour, and then you'll see what I'm talking about with the poor people or people who don't have cable TV get the bombardment of these ads that the one for shingles is the worst because they know at a certain age over 50 they say you have this heart and they show you pictures of it. Oh, shingles are bad. They're nasty, and you have this in you right now, which is probably a fact. We have bombarded plague in us. Who knows? We have a lot of stuff in us. And we're bringing more of it back from space, but that's another story. Just waiting to come out in you. Now that sticks in a lot of guys' brains, a lot of men and women. It's like, oh shit. And then they tense their scalp and then they go bald and I wonder, why am I going bald? Because you're listening to this bullshit. I rebuke you. I throw things at my TV. Popcorn. I wouldn't print the screen. But I argue with, yeah, an old guy friend of mine up in the hay. He's going to be 100. He's sharp as a pencil, and in great health. And in spite of the veterans, I got him back on cannabis. The VA hospital told him he had something where he couldn't smoke cannabis. As I said, how many years do I have left? 77. I'm going to spend every breath I have trying to. I'm not saying I almost said try. I am going. You can and you will. I am changing the way we deal with cannabis now. Yeah, the cannabis, the medical industry, the liquor industry is on its way out, and they're scared shit. Okay, how we're feeling about ourselves now. We don't understand our heart can handle a lot. Is that your heart's capacity for love is that limited expansion as the universe that created it. Allow your heart to listen to your heart. It'll lead you. Your mind is the caboose. It's the last one to get it. But your mind will tell you, hey, no one's around. Hug that tree. No, you could do a very subtle one. Put the back to the tree and then put your arms around it and then get your breaths in with that tree. I'm so upset all the trees in Hayes Valley now that I've gotten friends over. It's just memories. I see the stumps where they once were, but I wish they had noticed like we're gonna cut down this tree brutally, like it's no consciousness in it at all, and screw you, deal with it. I had to find these bodies. I wish they had just, what would it cost them to email people a little notice saying, I know there's tree lovers out there who need you. Is that too much to ask? There's some of us who are conscious of this planet Earth. It's not dying, it's being murdered by ignorant people who care more about this kids watching a few old friends share a joint than alcoholics screaming and yelling and staggering all over the place because cannabis will rot your brain. No, actually, people in my building, drinkers, don't make the connection between alcohol and rotting their brain. They actually are very condescending to me because he said right to my face, cannabis rots brain cells. Well, thank you and screw you. Or at least he had the guts to tell me to my face. I just walked away from him and I haven't talked to him since. And we live in the same building. And of course I smile, but I won't even say hi, how are you? Because I'm at the stage now where I've got a mission, and it's to redo what Nixon did, the Reagans did, and this is what our mayor now is. You got a mother who's still alive. She's gonna want to see a healer like someone like me. There's other words like that. You have kids now. You're so afraid they're going to see them. Instead of teaching them to be empathetic and look at them and say, by the grace of God, there goes you now. And start teaching them what's right and what's wrong. Point to Newsom and his sidekick Wiener and that's shit, man. You see, Psychic Frank, he's Shinola. What he's saying, listen to what the man's talking now about your health and wellness, and say, screw you, liquor industry. Um, you had your reign now. You no more killing people, because then you wonder why you're insured. Well, it's a mess now. We have no FBI. London Breed got away like a banshee. Hey, I've got to go now. I promise I might be out of here. Okay. The high priestess, the queen of the angels, begging you, ask her for help. Temperance steel is stronger steel. It's time for us all to wake up. You can't wake somebody up who's pretending to be asleep. I love you. I'll be back on the 20th. Let me see. Let me see. I started. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Okay, so we're out of here. I'm just gonna pick one more card for you all. Yeah, this is a wonderful image now. It's like, let your light shine. Okay, I'm out of here. I love you guys. I forgot when I started, but I'm sure it's time to end. So, okay, here we go. Where's that arrow? Oh, it's over here somewhere. Okay, now up, up. Okay, I love you guys. I didn't tell you I love you yet. I love you. Oh yeah, here's my Psychic Frank's Mystery School if you want to get a hold of me. Okay. Um, and I'll be back on the 20th when the first day of Aries, the sun in Aries there. Okay, bye. I thought I had it. I thought I was right there. And now I'm not. Oh man, I didn't realize it was going to take this long. Ah. Oh my God. not doing this right. Oh, excuse me. Maybe somebody could help me out here. Clay? I can't get this off. Hey, I can't. I tried. I can't get it off. It's up there.
You still going?
No, yeah, it's over.
Okay.